Okay, today we're going to be looking at combining two concepts we've recently looked at. We know the idea of compound inequalities. We saw that in the first objective. And then we're going on to continue working with these compound inequalities, but now we're going to add the solving in that we saw in this last objective. So just a reminder, compound inequalities. It says here, compound inequality consists of two separate inequalities joined by either an and or an or. Okay, that combines two inequalities and makes them into one statement. So our first statement we're going to look at says, all real numbers that are less than or equal to 7, or, let's circle that or so we really know that that was the key word there, greater than or equal to 10. So reading that one more time, it talks about just generally all real numbers, so we're going to call that x, that are, here we go, less than or equal to 7, or greater than or equal to 10. So we need to translate that inequality. We see the word or, and that word or is going to be in our compound inequality. We have the first part, the real numbers that are less than or equal to 7. So that is written as x is our less than or equal to, remember that's our L, and in this case 7. That's our first part. Then we have the word or, and we need to put that word or in our compound inequality. Without the or, that is not a correct statement. Then we want these same real numbers to be greater than or equal to 10. So that same x, but greater than or equal to 10. Okay, now what we want to do besides write that is we want to actually draw the graph. Remember what I'm asking for is a relative value with 0 included. So here's our 0 to the left. We've got a 7 and a 10 as our key values. Then drawing our graphs, we have less than or equal to 7, so we're going to put a closed circle at 7. Less than has a shading to the left. And remember with the idea of or, you graph each graph in its entirety, and that whole graph, both the combination of the two, is the solution to the whole thing. So here we have x is greater than or equal to, so it has the equal to, we're going to close the circle, and greater than goes to the right for that 10. Okay, we have the solution written out and the solution graphed out. Both of those are part of the solution. Okay. Here our next one says all real numbers that are greater than -1 and less than or equal to 1. So let's write that out again. Let's circle that word and. It's already italicized for you. And then let's look a little closer. All real numbers that are greater than -1, less than or equal to, so let's make sure we include all that, 1. So we have our all real numbers, our x, greater than -1, and we need to have the word and there. In this case, for those same numbers, they're less than or equal to 1, so x, again, is less than or equal to 1. Sorry for the smaller space there. Now, and says we want to use the graph that has both of these. Use the area of the graph that contains both of those solutions. So we're going to graph these really lightly so you can see a little better how this is working. We've got -1 and 1 as our key values, so 0 is between them this time. Okay, to help you see this a little bit better, I'm going to graph it a little bit more than I did last time. I want x values that are greater than -1. First of all, that's an open circle at -1. Greater. I'm going to graph it really lightly, but that goes here to the right. I'm talking lightly as I say I'm going to graph it lightly. Those go to the right. I'm going to graph the second one in red so we can see it a little bit more clearly. I want x's that are less than or equal to 1. It has the equal to, so I'm going to put a closed circle. Less than goes to the left. Again, I am going to graph it really lightly so that I can make sure I'm really clear on my final answer. The part of the graph that contains both, and it's a little hard to see, maybe I'll put that, I'm going to go ahead and graph it again in green. The part of the graph that has both is right here. There's a red and a blue graph there. So what I want for the final answer is what I'm doing here in green. Okay, the area of the graph that has both is right here. There's the open circle, the area of the graph that's shaded by both, and this closed circle. That is our final solution, the graph that's in green there. Okay, this and graph can also be written as a sandwich. Remember, if we want to talk about values that are between, we can write that as a sandwich. We can say -1. That's our smaller value, so we're going to put less than. Not equal to, because it's an open circle. x, which is less than or equal to, because there's a closed circle, positive 1. Okay, either one of these statements is a correct translation from the first original statement with the words written out. And then this graph in green is the final answer. Okay, and then just a reminder, remember that all solutions of an and compound inequality are the values that make both inequalities true. In other words, the area that's shaded by both graphs. So when we looked at it here, it was the one that was the area that was in blue and in red, and that's the area I shaded in green. Okay? So here's your chance to try it. Go ahead and hit pause and work on these next 3 problems. So do this You Try It section. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully those went well. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and put those solutions down for the You Try It section. I hope you tried it on your own just to make sure that you know what you're doing. Okay, so number 1, all real numbers that are less than -3 or greater than 0 should look like this. X is less than -3 or x is greater than 0. Then that graph has open circles at -3 and goes to the left. And then an open circle at 0 and goes to the right. Okay. The next one says all real numbers that are less than 9 and greater than or equal to 7. So I can either write it as x is less than 9 and x is greater than or equal to 7. That's one option. The other option I can do is say that we have 7 being the smallest, 9 being the biggest. It's an and. I want the values that are going to ultimately be between those. I can have 7 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 9. The graph of that then is a small graph here, closed circle at 7, open circle at 9, and the graph in between. And then number 3, all real numbers that are greater than or equal to 14 or less than or equal to 10. So x is greater than or equal to 14 or x is less than or equal to 10. Okay, now the graph here that's given is not a good graph for this particular graph, so we're going to go ahead and make a change. We're going to ignore these values. I apologize, as you probably had a hard time graphing this. We're going to go ahead and actually we'll just get rid of the whole graph because we're going to go ahead and draw our own. We're going to draw a graph. We want a 0, a 10, and a 14. We want to be greater than or equal to 14, so closed circle 14, graph goes to the right. Less than or equal to 10, so closed circle, and our graph goes to the left for 10. Okay, that would be the graph that I would expect for that one. Okay, we're going to go ahead and pause here and start a new video, so as soon as you've completed this, go ahead and go on to the next video.